All right. Good morning, guys. So thrilled to be with you this morning and grateful, Doug, that you're with us. So one of my favorite things about Doug is that Doug is one of the few people I get to look at in life and look up to because he's one, taller than me. And number two is, you know what? He is one of the most solid, consistent, good, kind, gracious people that I know, and especially with the magnitude of success that you have had, which is quite extraordinary. And I watched you as you've risen in your career to incredible heights, and I know that you're continuing to strive for that. And the one thing I've recognized in you is your continuation and your desire to grow and to become more every single day. I think that is, I have observed that not only is that just you basically a motto for your life, but it's also something I think that you have a great vision for not only today, but you have a great vision for your future and mortality. And I think that both of us would agree that you're taking many of the things that we each develop into the eternities. So I just think that it is just incredible to watch what you've done, who you've become, the number of homes that you sell, the families that you help. And so truly, it is my honor to welcome you to today's Morning Ascent. And thank you for being with us, Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we're thrilled you're here. All right. So, hey, just give us just a little bit of history. One, of course, share just a little bit of your past in the sense of being around real estate really since your infancy, because you started with a crazy dad who loved real estate and has done incredibly well and really was an icon back in the day and still is today. When I first got my career into my career 25 plus years ago. But share with us just about your journey getting into real estate and just a little bit about who you are. And then we'll start from there and we'll open it up to other stuff.
Sure. My dad got into real estate. He owned a car dealership. In the early 90s, it went out of business, which many did then. And got into real estate. And he was very successful in residential for a handful of years and then kind of transitioned to commercial and development, which is what he's done for a long time now. And so, yeah, I was around it for a long time. And I mean, I heard at the dinner table stories about real estate. I think I tried to avoid real estate for a little bit, but it was a natural path. And yeah, so I've been in selling for 14 years now.
So 14 years for you. And then I didn't realize that because I got my license back in 94.
Okay.
And I didn't realize. So your dad had just been, but you know, he was an icon to me that I looked up to back in our days at Coldwell Banker, 26 years ago for me, this July. And I didn't realize. So he'd only been in it a short time then, but obviously he came out swinging at the fences because he did great stuff right from the get-go.
Yeah, he built business very quickly.
Yeah, good for him. That's cool. Well, that's great. All right, so 14 years in the business. Just tell us real quickly, what's the most homes you've sold, and just so people have a perspective of where you're coming from.
Sure. Most 60. I've been selling between 50 and 60 for a handful of years now, more than I want, but.
But you know what? Here's what we're going to get to this. You've done something really, really important. We're going to get to this, and that is that you changed your sales price and you increased your sales price and you increased your income.
Yeah.
But let's just get to it right now. Talk to us a little bit about that. How did you increase your sales price? What made that come on and that decision where basically, like we just said, right? Just read it. Earn more commissions in less time with less energy spent. So selling the same, approximately same amount of homes, but you've increased your sales price. And tell us how much you've increased it. And tell us what that journey's been like for you.
Sure. It's hard for me to figure out exactly how much I increased it over what the market increased it, but I definitely I've increased it more than kind of the market. It's been a focus in my prospecting of just starting with the higher end. And so when I'm calling around properties, choosing the higher end first. When I'm door knocking, choosing the higher end neighborhoods first. When I'm previewing higher end properties. So just making that a main focus.
So elaborate a little more on that. So here's a key thing. I remember doing this with Brian Noel years ago and saying, man, if you want to increase your sales price, you can't keep calling on the two, three, $400,000 homes, right? I mean, it's not that, these are wonderful human beings, they're wonderful people, but if you're going to put the same effort in for let's just say back in the day, the $250,000, $350,000 home, well, you can make the same amount of effort, right, if you were calling on $500,000 homes, and that was kind of your benchmark.
Yeah.
So do you have aside from working with people in your sphere, right? I have to believe that people, if someone comes to you within your sphere, you work with them. But beyond that, what are some of the rules for you that you went through them, but give me some of those rules that apply to you raising your personal standards in regards to the amount of the sales prices that you work with?
It started, I remember when I really started that, I made an effort to get rid of, if I was calling for sell by owners, I didn't call anything under 400,000. This was
there you go.
Years ago.
But these are simple rules and I love it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Same thing with, I'm in Davis County. And so if it was an expired listing and it was 300,000 or up, I'd call it. But if it was in Salt Lake County, it had to be 500,000 or up. So just some simple rules like that. And then also my coach through Mike Ferry taught me many times that, if I've got 5 listings that I need to call around or 5 sales I need to call around, always start with the one that's the highest price. You might not get to the 4th and 5th one. So always start with the higher priced ones.
Love that. So to that point, right, there's the coaching that we do at Ever Sales System. You're with Mike Ferry, but I think there's a common thread here, right? You and I both know. I mean, we coach together even today just in the brokerage, right? I mean, arguably, we could even say this is a little bit of coaching, and we're coaching others just by those of the 70, 80, 90 people that are listening today. Speak to coaching and the importance of that. Whether it's coached by Mike, whether it's coached by George, coached by Ever Sales Systems, obviously you believe in coaching. So speak to coaching for just a moment. The importance and the difference that's made to you. And I first, I'm going to advocate. My belief is, look, if you're not coached by us, get coached.
Yeah.
Because you need to be coached. So what would you say to coaching?
I say every professional in every industry has a coach. Anyone that's highly successful has a coach. And so if you want to be highly successful, get a coach. Right. So I got a coach.
And what do you think it's done for you? What do you think it's done for you?
I mean, most of my career I've had a coach. I think it was maybe 7-8 months that I didn't when I started real estate. And so it didn't take me very long to realize that I need this. I need more than just simply my broker in the office. I need someone that can sit down and be brutally honest with me, that can say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. Why aren't you doing this? Someone to lead me to other people that think the way I want to think, to surround myself with other people that are thinking bigger.
Right, expanding that. And you're saying something really important, right? We have all these great managers, all these great brokers, all these wonderful people that are available. But the unique thing is the fact of getting coached by other great agents. And so even yesterday I had a conversation with an agent. I said, look, let's make sure we're clear, right? Like with Mike's coaching or Everest coaching, when we talk about the coaching, we're talking about not necessarily me coaching, right? I mean, you may go to a seminar of like Mike's, but you're having a top performing agent who's saying, look, I'm going to take some of my time, my energy, and my effort, and I'm going to coach Doug.
Yeah.
So not only does that coach learn a ton from that process, but also you're getting the ingredients for someone who's doing almost every case far more than you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference, right, that I look at. And the other thing is as amazing as Ken is, who's one of your managers, Katie Bush, one of your managers, if they can come at you, but then they get to see you 10 minutes later walking down the hallway. It's a little different when the coach is like, hey, come on, get going. And they're not going to see you or talk to you for another week. And they're a little bit more, maybe I would almost say a little more intense and a little more direct and a little bit maybe more confrontational is if you're going down the wrong path to build your career or to build the path of success. Yeah. So I've always acknowledged the fact of the importance of that angle of coaching outside any office that someone may reside in. which is really important. So cool. That's awesome.
Very important.
So what would you say to someone who needs to increase their mindset today? I mean, I know you do a lot of things. So expand on what you do to elevate your mindset, to earn, $600,000-$700,000 a year is what you're doing, right? So how do you keep it in line?
It really starts with, for me, it starts the night before. It starts the night at night. For me, going to bed on time, whatever time that is.
Sure.
Getting a good night's sleep. For me, if I don't work out in the morning, then my day is thrown off. So that really reduces the amount of stress in my life dramatically. If I can work when I work out every morning, and then just listening to good positive material. So I get in the car every morning and I'm turning on the daily call. I'm listening to great audiobooks. I'm listening to great podcasts.
Give us a book and on a podcast. Obviously, you're talking about the daily message, little 5 to 6 minute or 8 minute message that we give out as a company. I hope people are listening to that. If not, of course, you can email me or email Andrew Cuppett or your manager, and they can get you involved in that. But give us a book or an audio that you would recommend right now. That's kind of caught your attention.
What I'm listening to right now is The Road Less Stupid. Good book. Great podcast, like, let's see here. Why did I just blank out? What's my podcast that I'm listening to right now? There's always a few. Oh yeah, I've been listening to Ed Milet a lot lately.
I just listened to something of his today that was very, very powerful about breaking patterns, right? We all have patterns.
Yep. So I also try and surround myself with a lot of other agents that do more than me outside of my market. So I've got a couple different
masterminding.
Yep. A couple different mastermind groups that help me out a lot, that we have accountability with. We're texting constantly. We talk once a week, if not more. When I'm prospecting every morning, I'm on a Zoom call with 2 or 3 other people that are prospecting in other parts of the country. And
so let's make sure we're clear. So the Zoom is going while you're prospecting.
Yep.
Right. I know my daughter Kenzie, who's an incredible recruiter, and is getting her feet wet even now on the real estate side of it. She does that with a few different people where she'll be making the calls at the exact same time as other people, and she just has either her Google up or you have Zoom up. But I mean, they're making it to where there's a other layer of accountability to hold your feet to the fire.
Yep. Yeah. Plus, you're just surrounding yourself with other people that are doing the same thing, that are pushing you. They can hear you and coach you a little bit if needed. So all those layers.
I love that, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So what would you say? So if you were talking about skill sets, what do you think is the best way to learn skill sets, right? I mean, you certainly have gotten a series of different scripts and dialogues through your masterminds, through your association with Barry, through your association with other agents. What would you share with someone to say, man, if you really want to elevate your communication ability, you want to change the whole way in which you approach the business. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just, we all know this, it's not just going to one seminar, right? I mean, but what would you suggest on a daily basis for someone to truly increase their skill set?
I do know everyone learns a little bit differently. For me, I've role played with somebody for the last 14 years. So I've always been role playing.
So you didn't just role play for the first year.
No.
You role play, you're still role playing now.
Yep.
As good as you are thinking, because Doug, most people think you've arrived.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Why would you waste your time earning $600,000-$700,000 a year? You got this great family, great wife, great kids, great home, but you're still role playing.
Yep, absolutely. I have to.
I love it.
I have to keep my skills sharp every day. I mean, there's new things. Like I've been role playing coronavirus subjection.
Right.
You know, there's all kinds of things that come up that we've got to freshen up on.
So help us with that, with the people on the, this is a great point here. Help us with the coronavirus thing for a little bit here. So let's assume just role play with me just for a second. We'll get your role play in here. So here's your role play.
Right.
Role play with me that if let's just even say I'm a just listed, just sold, you're calling an area. It's not someone that you know, but just in its basic form, if I say, well, yeah, but Doug, you know, the virus is going on. You know, I don't know if it's a good time to sell.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. You know, and I hear that a lot right now. Have you been following what's going on in the market lately since the coronavirus came in?
No, I've just been really nervous, like, you know, with all the unemployment and what the market might fund.
Yeah. Have you seen what the interest rates are lately?
No, actually, I haven't really looked at that, actually. I mean, I presume they're low, but I don't know how low.
They're low. They're below 3% right now. And the best part about what's going on right now is there's less competition now than we've ever seen. So really the question for you, George, is when you sell your home, would you rather have less competition or more?
I love it, man. I would like less.
You'd like less. We all would. Absolutely. So right now there's less than we've ever seen. What do you think is going to happen when everyone starts feeling comfortable after the coronavirus is gone?
Well, they're going to throw their homes up on the market.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot more competition.
Do you think we'll lose? But do you think right now we're going to lose money on the sale of our house? I mean, you know, it's an $800,000 home, Doug. I mean, it's, you know, give or take. I mean, I know you need to do a little bit of your research. We've known each other for years. You helped us buy the home. Let's just actually, I'm sorry, just switched into sphere. Just listen, sorry, $800,000 home. I'll stay on task here in my role play. You know, all the homes around us are going for $800,000, $900,000. I mean, don't you think we're going to take a bath on it if we put the home on the market?
You know, that's a great question. I think everybody's kind of felt that way, that prices might dip. However, have you seen any homes sell for less?
No, I've just seen less homes on the market, actually.
Yeah. And we're seeing the same thing. Less homes means less competition, more demand with lower interest rates. So if anything, prices are steady or climbing. Now, would you rather sell now or when there's more competition and prices might go down?
And rates probably would go up, right?
Very possible.
All right.
Yeah.
Sense.
Well, all we need to do is simply set an appointment. I can share with you exactly what the home is worth. I've got time today at 4 or at 5:30. What would be better for you?
Awesome, man. You know the beauty of that, Doug, is the fact that you're doing this in front of all your peers, not a second of hesitancy, and you can tell that you're practicing. And I love the fact that, look, people every day, as you've had to already do during the different changes, you've had to restructure, rewrite, modify, take from other agents, take from the fair organization, take from other things you hear from and then galvanize a script that you know is effective and works. And the comfort of feeling what I just felt with you going through that. There's no one I hope people will go back and listen to that, because there's so much good that you shared, that I think part of the fear right now from the agents is they don't necessarily know what to say with all the different things that have been going on with the pandemic. And, you know, there's agents that have even been shaming other agents for selling real estate, or, how do you do this effectively? What do I say? But I mean, you just gave people these golden nuggets of what they should be sharing and saying, and sharing it comfortably and sharing it with some common sense. I mean, everything about your message with me was common sense. You weren't trying to manipulate me, force me to do something that I don't want to do. I mean, I want to sell, but I'm nervous about what's going on. And you asked me some real logical questions, which is great. So go back to that. If you wanted to master the ability to communicate, besides role plays or anything else that you would suggest they should do on a daily basis to increase their ability to sell?
I know a lot of people will write the scripts out, which has been successful for a lot of people. For me, my best way of learning it is just chanting it, repeating it. So I know.
So explain what chanting is to people, so they can get what you mean by that.
Sure, I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was going through kind of a listing slump, and one of my coaches said, you have to call my voicemail every day and chant the listing presentation on my voicemail
I love
every
it.
single day. And so I did that every day. I think I did it for 3 months. And I got so good at it that I could call while I'm driving down the road in my car and chanted it as voicemail in under 3 minutes.
I love it, dude. That's fantastic.
And so chanting it, just running through it real fast, or even just at regular speed. So that's helpful. Sometimes I've recorded myself and I'll listen to it in the car and say it along with myself. So that's what helps me learn the best.
Well, Doug, I consider you a dear friend, and I'm just inspired by who you are and what you do. So here's a question for you. Let's switch gears just for a moment. What drives you? What makes you tick? What makes you keep making? How many contacts are you making per day? And what makes you do that? What's making you tick?
My goal is 40. I'm in the 30s typically.
Okay, but hold on, just make sure we're clear.
Yeah.
So you're making, still today, making the money you're making, selling the homes you're selling, you're still making over 30 contacts as a base. Let's just say a minimum, you're hitting at least 30 per day.
Yeah.
How many days a week?
5 days a week.
So 5 days a week. I mean, spot on the 12 steps to the summit of success, 150 plus contacts per week, right?
Yeah.
How many appointments are you setting per week, would you say?
Typically I'm setting 3 or 4 appointments a week.
All right. And how many are you attending per week?
2.
All right. So you're spending 3 hours, give or take, a day prospecting. Would that be fair? So you're taking about 15 hours of your week. You're making new contacts, connecting to new people, new blood. You're setting 3 or 4 solid appointments. You're attending 2, right? Is what you said?
2 to 3.
All right, 2 to 3 appointments. And I know there's a great focus for you on listings because of, and in fact, I want to switch to that. And in those 2 to 3 appointments, how many of those listings specifically? I presume you're saying listing appointments, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And of those 2 to 3, let's take 3 out of 3 appointments. How many will you take? Or what's your percentage of close?
My numbers are a little off this year from normal. Normally I'm about 80% I'm taking.
Okay. Well, what is it this year?
Right now I think it's 57%.
All right, but still, so you're taking 2 out of 3. Well, if you go on 3 listing appointments, that means you're taking 2 out of the 3 listings.
Yeah.
So what makes you tick? Why do you keep doing this? You're making tons of money. Why are you still prospecting? What's driving you?
I have big goals. I have big dreams.
All right.
I got a wife that's always pushing me. She dreams bigger than me.
All right. So the dreams of your wife, give me something more. Give us some meat. What's driving you? What makes you tick, Doug? What makes you get up in the morning? What gets you to your rituals?
For me, it's showing up every day is important to me. Just having consistency. So I'm kind of a consistent person. That's just, I have to have rituals. And so I'm in the office every morning, 7:45. Just having the rituals and having a structure is important to me. Building a business, so put out goal. The building of a business and growing of a business is kind of the number one thing for me. Seeing my database grow, seeing my future grow, seeing my rental properties grow because of it. So that future financial freedom.
Okay, so financial freedom. So I want you to elaborate more, man. Do a little coaching. I want to know what's making you tick. What you say, consistency. Mm-hmm. But here's the deal. For every one of us, you and I both know this, that if you can connect the dots with your emotion, your heart, your soul, if you can connect what you think about and what you feel, we all know that we're going to be driven to make more contacts, talk to more people, make a bigger difference, do more extraordinary things. So aside from, hey, I like to see a business grow. Hey, I'm really a guy who likes to be consistent, man. Give me something that's making you really drive towards something. Give me something significant. I want you to throw out your goal. I want to know what it is. I want the world to hear, where's Doug going? And what's making him drive down the path he's going?
Where am I going? I would say security. Security for my family is the big deal. And I guess it's even beyond security, because I want my family to live in greatness. I want to have a legacy that I can pass on to my kids. I want to have a portfolio of properties that I can pass on as a legacy, and be able to live in a fantastic retirement when I choose to.
So, dude, just because I know you and you're such a close friend, I'm just here to tell you that if you were watching the screen, there's a whole different energy when you start talking about, well, I want to build a business. But when you start, then you light up as you're speaking to a legacy, passing things on to your children. I know we've talked in depth about giving your children opportunities, not that you're just going to give them free handouts, but opportunities. Yep. All of these things are what drive you. And the thing that I know about you is that for anyone is that when we can connect the dots to our legacy, to the extraordinary life that you want to provide for your family and for yourself, all of a sudden when the emotion for that is linked to picking up a phone, all of a sudden you start making, from 30 contacts, you start making 40 or 50. The change in the tone and the emotion changes the whole outcome. So I would just challenge you, me, everyone, man, we got to get even deeper connection to what's driving our life that is most important, so that we can live a life that is emotionally connected to everything that we're doing. So I love when I hear you talk about your legacy and opportunities and extraordinary and amazing life. I mean, you can feel that when you speak to that. So that's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so someone who's off, they're new in the business, or they've been in the business a long time. You have a lot of friends across the country because your associations with different masterminds, of course, the fair organization, other things that you've done. What advice do you give to someone who's really struggling right now? What do you do for someone what would you tell them? Like, man, okay, hold on a second here. Time out. You're going down a path. You're not making calls. You're not talking to people. You're not rising up to raise up others. What do you tell them?
I look back to what has caused me to helped me create success. And it's been showing up every day. But I have accountability in place to make sure I do show up. So, people know if I'm not showing up. So I'm on a call, I'm prospecting with people every day. And they know if I'm not at the top of my game, and they'll call me out on it. So having accountability, people around you that can be brutally honest with you and can push you. So I would say surround yourself with people that are going to push you.
So if you're in a rut, right? If you're in a bad space, if you're in dark space, if you're even bored, full out negative, if you're completely depressed, if you're, completely feeling helpless, if you're just like feel like you're paralyzed, like the phone weighs 800 pounds and you can't pick it up even. What I'm hearing from you is this statement I've made for years. Accountability is the insurance policy to your dreams and to your goals. Because my observation is is there a lot of days you don't feel like going into the office? A lot of days you don't feel like picking up a phone? A lot of days you don't feel like making the calls?
Yeah.
Is there more days you don't feel like doing it than you do?
No.
Okay. But the days you don't, would it be safe to say then that the accountability of, either it's, money or the Zoom call or a commitment in your word to another agent, however you're, putting that together, would you say that is really the difference maker of working on all the other days you don't feel like working?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say that. There's often, I'm always my group gets on a little after I've started prospecting. And those days when I'm not feeling great, that gap between when they show up and when I've started isn't near as effective. So I see a difference when they jump on the Zoom call, and then I pick it up.
So bottom line for you is, look, if you are struggling, if you're not in the great space, if you're paralyzed, if you're feeling helpless, if you're feeling down, and I don't care whether it's look, I'm watching people in Utah do that. Last week I was in California. I was meeting people and seeing people who felt the same way in California. We all get in different stages. We're in different emotional states. But the one thing I'm seeing from you is that to keep your consistency, to not having 1 day on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off, 1 day great, next day not so great. You have instituted levels of accountability to protect your future, the legacy that you're building for you and your family.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so what about the person who says, well, Doug, it's, I love people who say, I don't believe in accountability. I don't like accountability. What do you say to that person? I'll just do it. I don't like people doing that and holding me accountable. What'd you say to that person? And just so you know, probably half the group on this call is thinking that way.
Yeah. My coach the other day asked me, he gave me an assignment. He said, can you do this on your own, or do you need to set up some accountability on that? And it was something that I could easily do on my own. But the thought of, it goes back to that thought, like if you're not going to do it on your own, if you be honest with yourself. If you're not, then get some accountability. Like I was having a hard time waking up and working out consistently at one point here last year, and I called up a friend and said, I need some accountability, $100 a day if I miss, and I was extremely consistent.
Yeah, but
I'm not doing that now, but because
yeah.
I've got that consistency, I don't need the accountability. But when I see there's an area of lack where I'm not hitting the goal that I want, I institute some accountability.
I love it, dude. You love this. You're gonna get. I'm gonna put a smile on your face right now. So I've got an accountability with my son-in-law. 5:45. Last night there was some creeper sitting outside of our house. We called the cops. Didn't get to bed till 12:30 at night. I had an accountability for $50 to be at the gym at 5:45 this morning. I walked in at 5:58 with a $50 bill, and I am telling you, I felt great paying him, because I thought to myself, I wouldn't even be here the 10 or 15 minutes. Because I hit my alarm 4 times and I didn't hear it. But for $50, the thing that's interesting is what it does to help me mentally and emotionally to do my job of the things I know I'm supposed to do. The great tragedy of all agents, Doug, you know this. You and I have been doing this a long time, is they know what they're supposed to do. They just need to do it. So the issue of accountability has nothing to do with, like, you know what to do. You know you need to be up early. You need to go to the gym. But there's days where I know I need to be. But if I have that accountability, it's just that, what's more painful, losing $50 or just showing up on time? And what's more painful is losing $50. So earlier this week, I'm showing up on time. Yep. But you know what? The day I didn't, it was still worth $50. Because it protects, it's the insurance policy for my dreams, specific to my health.
Yeah.
Okay, give us your closing thoughts, brother. What would you say is what if you've thought about this call coming up? What's the 1 or 2 things you'd love to have people know, or you see they should be doing, or any counsel, any advice to an agent, whether they've been in the business a long time, a short time, maybe they're rocking it, maybe they're not? What's the 1 or 2 things you'd share with us that you want to close with?
Looking back, if I could create, and which I guess I did a really good job at, but it would do even better, that it's a job. It's a job. You show up every day at the same time. I think the very important thing is your family knows it's a job. Like, you don't have the flexibility that everyone gets into real estate because they think it's flexible, and then that turns out hurting them. So it can be flexible, but make sure you've got a schedule that you stick to. And you know exactly when you're going to be there, when you're going to be calling, when you're going to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. So
Great advice.
treat it like a job. Treat it like there's a boss that they're going to fire you if you don't show up. And make sure your family understands how important that is.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I always loved what Mike Fair used to say, right? He still says, I'm sure. And that is that he says, you know, the best thing about being in real estate is you're an independent contractor. And then he always says the worst thing about being in real estate is the fact that you're an independent contractor, right? Because no one can fire you, right? No one can put you down. No one can say, you're out of here. All right. You didn't show up on time. All right. You're fired. Or you didn't prospect today. All right. I'm sorry. Today's your last day. Here's your warning. It's crazy. We don't treat it like a job. And the moment you treat it like a job, then you start having the successes like you're talking about. Right. So the key is, you're right, man. You're spot on. I love what you're saying, is treat it like a job, like it's a real job. Love it. Any other thoughts?
No, and sorry, I can't. It's cutting out a lot on me now. Oh, we might be frozen on my side.
No, you're there. I can hear you now. But it does keep freezing on you. Just like the last few minutes it's been doing it.
Yeah.
You're back. All right. Give us your last gold nugget, and we're wrapping up.
Be consistent. I would simply show up. Show up. Do the things you're supposed to do. If you can't do it, get accountability around it. And put something on the line. Something that hurts. You know, maybe it's money, maybe it's something else. But if it hurts, then it'll make you do it.
Yeah, right. So it's the management of pain, right? What's more painful, losing $100 or prospecting and making 20 contacts today? Is it what's more painful, buying your buddy lunch or just making an appointment today? I mean, it's simple stuff, guys. We got this. All right. Well, Doug, hey, thank you for everything. Thank you for being such an inspiration, a leader in our industry, a leader in the company. And I just hope that you know how grateful I am for you, for our friendship, and for the example that you are to so many. So thank you for what you do. And I know that, man, so many golden nuggets taken away. I hope people really take away the importance of really, again, so much that you shared about rituals, disciplines, habits, patterns, consistency, and how to make sure that you keep that in play when it comes to the accountability. Was a real big takeaway and a reminder for me of other areas I want to elevate my life. Man, it's the insurance policy to our future. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, George. Thanks for everything you've done for me.